Our economy is rapidly collapsing, and I think that a lot of people see it coming, but they have no clue what to do about it. So in this video, I want to go over kind of what's going on in our society in general and how we can actually go about fixing it and changing it to where we are supported, earning enough income to take care of ourselves without facing this economic collapse or economic singularity that is on the horizon right now. So the big reason that we're in this situation is because people just are keeping their blinders on, and it makes sense. You know, the solution to this is not necessarily easy. It requires some drastic differences in the way that we approach our society and our lives, and it means changing actually a lot of our belief structures about what is valuable and what is not, and what's worth doing and what is not. So for example, Andrew Yang ran for president in 2020, and he had the fundamental goal of getting universal basic income. Now, I think universal basic income is brilliant and absolutely beneficial to society at large, but I know a lot of people, primarily Republicans, who think that universal basic income is going to detract from human productivity, where people will basically sit on their laurels, take things for granted, and become more and more disenfranchised with society and life and contributing to a greater world. Now, I do understand this perspective, and there may be some of that going on, but from my perspective, the reason for this is not that there is an abundance of resources and people will inherently take advantage of them. It's actually that we're not teaching people how to value themselves and the value of work. Because right now, work is purely for survival for most of us. I know that my husband, for example, he works 12-hour days every 2 days or so. So he gets on average 40 hours a week. He gets 36 one week and like 48 the next. But it's not work that he thrills in. It's not work that he aspires to do more of. It's just a way to get money in, a way to bring in paychecks. And this type of mentality is not actually helpful. I do not think that most people who work love their jobs and feel like they're contributing something to society. Now, Alex Hormozi said something that I thought was absolutely brilliant and actually agrees quite well with my philosophy, which is the goal of life is actually to work. The goal of life is actually to continue to produce things, to aim at new goals, to strive for things, to face challenges. The difference between that type of work, though, and the work that most people are doing is that we aren't actually focused on developing ourselves or putting our best foot forward. So here I am building a business with my husband, trying to build up income to where we don't have to worry about money anymore, so that I can then take my time and dedicate it to something that I genuinely care about. Now, that can be different for different people. You know, if you want to dedicate your time to building a great relationship with your spouse, that's still a worthwhile pursuit. And if you want to take your time and develop your children, that's a worthwhile pursuit. Now, for me, I want to develop a community, a self-sustaining community where we can all live in a state of friendship, contributing the best that we have to offer to the group at large. So that's where I'm aiming at. And ultimately, I can't pursue that path. I can't make that society while still stuck in financial struggle. So this is where the need to alleviate strain of survival, I think, is hugely important, and universal basic income would be a great way to go about that. So I do understand that people don't like the idea of universal basic income because they fear that people will take advantage of it. The problem is, I don't think the majority of people will do that, or if they do that, it will only be for short term as they recover from the burnout of working a 9 to 5. But instead, that freedom will allow people to pursue the things they actually care about, and more than likely our productivity will explode, meaning that we will move so much faster in science, in research, in art, in artistry of, like construction, even just in the development of technologies and 3D printing and things like that, because that's what people are interested in. We like to invent, we like to explore things, we like to grow our minds. I know that for me, personal development is like an addiction where there's a strong part of me that's constantly looking for what am I doing wrong and how can I fix it. So you become kind of addicted to this growth mentality. And if you give everybody that opportunity to become addicted to the growth mentality, you can start to see just how far we could go in a very short period of time. So I don't think people are correct when they say that work is absolutely vital to a healthy life. And by that I mean a job, a 9-to-5 job where you're working for somebody else, building somebody else's business, because you are not embracing your full potential doing that work. That is not what you're truly capable of. The only way to do what you're truly capable of is to dedicate more time to the things that you find interesting. So that is what I would say we need to aim at. And I know that a lot of people talk about how you get value and worth from a job where, you know, you build friendships, you build relationships, you maybe even find your spouse, you feel like you're contributing something to society. And all of these things are great. And I do actually think they're important. What I don't agree with is that you have to get them through a job. So I definitely think we're in an issue there where we're focusing so much on keeping production up in a business setting that we don't see the potential of a more free, open type of society, which personally I think would be much more effective at producing things and making a better world. So as far as jobs are concerned, the economic collapse or the economic singularity that's coming up as technology develops, jobs are going to go by the wayside. And this is kind of inevitable. And I think some people do see that coming. Bernie Sanders, for example, he believes that we should promise everybody a job, whether the work or labor is required, because it would ensure that people are getting enough money to live off of. The problem is, if you guarantee everybody a job, how many of those jobs are needed? And if they're not needed, are you really getting value? Are you feeling like you're contributing something to society in that environment? I'd say no. So the idea of guaranteed jobs, while I think is good in its intention, is lacking in ability to actually move our society forward in a productive way. Instead, we need to alleviate the necessity for money entirely. And AI is a great way to actually go about that. We have the technology right now to where everybody could be taken care of. Our production is good enough that we literally could feed everybody in the United States, for example. We could feed everybody in the United States for very little money. And as the necessity for competition and money goes away, the cost of production is actually going to go down significantly because the technology will increase. But production, I think, is kind of an interesting concept because we still know that there are things that will need to be done in a society where not everybody works all the time, where the 9-to-5 doesn't exist anymore, because there are things that we don't have the technological ability to do right now. For example, surgery on people is becoming more automated, but it's not automated yet. So you still do need the surgeons. You still do need people who are interested in that. And I do think you will have those people because people are interested in becoming surgeons. There's a lot of status in that, and status is important as well. And that's something that we could probably talk about in another video, but I'm like, well, this is already getting really long. So production is definitely going to be an issue. We still do need to figure that out. The best way that I can see right now to figure out production is to actually assign roles. So basically, you have a rotating pool of people who are capable of doing required work. Having somebody who can clean the toilets is still very helpful when you've got an entire community of people utilizing them. And having somebody who's comfortable doing that work, I think, is going to be immensely beneficial. And if they do that for 2 hours once a week, you're still going to get it done. And you've got 10 people doing that, or you've got 7 people doing that, and they get cleaned every day pretty well because they're putting a lot of effort into it. So doing things like that, I think, is going to be beneficial. You don't need everybody doing the same work. You can have people kind of volunteering for what work they want to do. You just have a list of things that need to be done, and then have a running tally of people who are interested in doing that work as volunteers, and then just go through them over and over and over. You rotate through all those people, and all of the necessary jobs will be taken care of as a result of that. So that's what I would do for production. Nobody really cares that much about what chair they're purchasing for their house at this point. So the invention of 3D printing, for example, is going to alleviate a lot of the manufacturing aspects of life, and then craftsmanship will take over as far as, you know, standing out from everybody else, and that'll be a status thing. But production is not as difficult to figure out as we tend to think that it is, and we don't have to force people to do that production by threatening them with death. Which is what we're doing right now, where we're forcing people to survive based upon their contribution in a job environment, which is not helpful or good. But it does raise an interesting question. If humans are not needed in the work environment, if 9-to-5s don't exist anymore and people have the freedom to do what they want to do, what's the role of humans? Why are we here? What's the value that we're contributing to the world? And I think this is probably the mentality that's causing the biggest issue, where we assume the role of humans or the value of humans is our ability to survive. But that has never been the value of humans. Humans have this capacity to build up systems to where we don't need to contribute labor anymore. And that has happened as we continue through society, and continues to happen as we further automate and regulate things. So humans' role has never been to be the major producer of things. The role of humans is to imagine new systems or better ways. So when it comes to a world where humans don't need to do anything in order to survive, where humans don't really need to be a part of the production of food and shelter, for example, now the role of humans becomes harmony, or creating connection with each other. We become more about developing ourselves as individuals and then creating a better environment around us. So, for example, creating a more green society is a big one, and that's been rising up over the years. My entire life, it's been something where people are like, we need to save the planet. That's only possible when people have the freedom of mental space to figure out viable solutions. So by allowing people the freedom to actually consider these opportunities or consider these issues and find solutions, we not only can create a healthier society or a healthier environment for ourselves and for the other animals, but we can actually come up with solutions to, say, terraform Mars, or even repair Earth to such an extent that it has never been as healthy before. We all know that humans have this capacity to improve themselves beyond their natural gift. For example, muscle mass. You, on average, if you just work out regularly, will have about 50% of your maximum capacity of muscle. But if you want to get near that 100% mark, you have to push yourself. And you go to this point beyond what is considered normal for humans or for you. And that's just an example of how humans tend to amplify and go beyond just living. Humans are excellent at figuring out how to make the world more than it could have been on its own. That's our strength. That's our value in the world. We can make other lives better. We can make other creatures' lives better. We can make the planet better. We can make all of the cosmos better because we are able to imagine far beyond just ourselves, our lives, and our survival. People don't consider that enough because that is a truly crazy, amazing thing. Like, human capacity is so amazing that it's like mind-boggling. We don't even know what humans are capable of, but we are constantly amazed and in awe of what humans can accomplish. You know, people continue to push themselves beyond normal. You know, the Olympics, for example, is an excellent form of where humans compete against each other and against themselves and their previous self to become just a little bit better. And that's the true power behind humanity. Like, what other creature does that? No other creature does that. That's humans. That's what makes us awesome. So this idea that humans are just gonna sit back, relax, and do absolutely nothing is crazy to me, because we have this innate desire to just push, to keep going, to see what's really out there, to see what's really available, what's really possible. And everybody has that desire. So if they're not pursuing that, it's because they've been trained out of it, not because they don't have it. That's the natural human state, and it's amazing. And who knows where that will take us? We don't have to keep struggling for survival anymore. We don't have to be afraid that we're gonna run out of stuff, because we have the technology where every single person can feed themselves by growing food inside their own houses. Like, we don't even have to live in environments where we can grow food in the ground anymore. That's crazy. Who would have thought that could happen? We could have the entirety of the world living in Antarctica because we have the technology to do that. We could build an entire city down there where everybody's just constantly indoors living off of the technology developments that we've made. And then we could leave the rest of the planet to do its own thing if we wanted to. Like, there are no rules for humans. Humans make the rules. We make new things. We make new societies. We make new ideas. That's crazy and amazing. And we need to do more of it, because that is our place. That is our purpose. That is why we're here, to see how far we can push the boundaries. And everybody wants to do that if you give them the chance. So let's give them that chance. Let's stop holding on to these past ideas. Let's start embracing a new society. Let's start embracing a new way. I have ideas on how to get there. I need help getting there. I need people who can help ask me questions, who can help me clarify, who can come up with ideas themselves where they're like, hey, I know how to solve that problem. I need that community. I need people to help me with this. This is not a one-man project. This has got to be all of us involved in it. But can you just see how awesome that world's gonna be? Like, it blows my mind how awesome that world's gonna be. There are so many things we don't know. And just imagine what life would be like if we actually had the time to